Hello and welcome back to Surf Progression Techniques. I'm your host, Chapin Cruder. Thank you so much for joining me. Today we'll be going over the 3 ways mantras can progress your surfing faster. And this is a special topic for me because, I spent a lot of years surfing. I spent a lot of years practicing my craft. And I spent a lot of years, as a lot of you know, very stuck, 18 to be exact. And going through those years as frustrated as I did, not really being able to figure it out. I mean, you might consider me a slow learner, but it took mantras to actually help break the old psychological and physical patterns I had when I was approaching certain aspects of my surfing. And I'll explain more as we go, but mantras were really the thing that helped unwire the wiring that I had acquired over the years, unlearn, if you will, the bad habits that I had acquired over the years in order to then start re-implementing new, more positive habits that were going to get me the result that I desired. So some of you listening right now might be asking yourself, what is a mantra? And a mantra, by dictionary definition, is a word or sound repeated to aid concentration in meditation. And now I'm not a meditator. However, I do have a bit of a background in sports psychology. I have a bachelor's in psychology and had to take a few classes. But those classes really changed my whole approach to athletics, and how I thought about the way I think really affects the outcome of what I'm trying to accomplish within an athletic setting. And so I started really thinking about it and how I could apply some of these psychological concepts to my own surfing, because again, I was stuck for so many years and I was so frustrated. And so when I started learning about, repetition of words in your mind, that can almost be like practicing in real life. They have studies of basketball players just thinking about making free throws without actually practicing them. And then when they go out and test 2 groups of basketball players, those who have been practicing, say, for a week, actually doing the action of making free throws versus basketball players that didn't practice at all during a week but thought about making 100 free throws a day, they realized that the basketball players who had not practiced at all still made the same amount of free throws as those who were practicing every day. And so it really got me thinking about applying it to my own surfing and the areas of my surfing that I was super frustrated. So I kind of took this idea of mantras and applied it to my surfing, and I came up with a new definition, which is it's repeated words that help aid action in moments of uncertainty. Because that's really where I was stuck. I was, one, unable to identify what I was doing wrong. So how can you actually go out and change what you're doing if you don't even know what you're doing wrong? But then once I figured out what I was doing wrong, I now had to be aware enough in those certain situations to then apply proper action. And that's where these repeated words that we're going to go into in a minute really helped me unwire and unlearn those bad habits by repeating certain and very specific word combinations as I was paddling for a wave, as I was going down the line, to then get the action that I wanted out of my body to do the type of turns and maneuvers that I wanted. And so with that said, I want to give you a quick example of how I used mantras to progress faster. And as many of you know, and if you didn't know, I spent 18 years stuck on a specific type of turn, a top turn. And what was happening was that I was letting my lead arm cross in front of my body throughout the bottom turn process of my turn, and then as well as the top turn process of my turn. And this was really hurting the whole movement and the whole outcome of my turn. I was digging my rails 90% of the time on every single top turn. And as you can see in the photos, it doesn't look like that nice of a top turn. It looks kind of weird, my whole body mechanics. And so it took a lot of work for me to first identify what I was doing wrong, but then it took the mantras to really start to help undo that bad habit that I've been doing for 18 years. And so what I would do was I would get up on a wave and I would have this mantra set in my mind. When I stood up, I already had it ready to go. And it was just super simple off the bat. And it was just me saying to myself over and over and over as I went down the line, don't let lead arm cross in front of my body. Don't let lead arm cross in front of my body. Don't let lead arm cross in front of my body. And I would go down these waves and I would surf them as I would, being really conscious of everything I did. I didn't allow my lead arm to cross in front of my body. And so this was just the first phase of me using mantras. And as I started to then undo these small little aspects of my surfing that kept me stuck, I started to add a few more steps to it. And so then I would go down the line and I would, again, have that little mantra going in my mind, don't let lead arm cross in front of the body. And then I would say something like, as I was approaching my top turn, I would say something like open palm and shoulder. So this photo really starts to illustrate, and this is actually all taken from the same session. This was when I was really getting into it, and you can see the contrast of just one session of how this really, really changed my surfing and really improved my surfing and helped me progress a lot faster by utilizing these mental formulas, these like word combinations, just to keep me focused in the moment, reminding myself of what I needed to do in order to execute the type of turn that I wanted. So I'm going down the line, I'm saying, don't let lead arm cross in front of my body. And then when I get to the top of the wave, my lead arm isn't across my body. And I can say something like open palm and shoulder, which then helps keep my whole body open and then complete the turn that I want. And I've been doing this for years, and I still do it to this day. I have my mantras in which I use for very specific aspects of my surfing. And once I break through that barrier that's been holding me back, and I find myself really incorporating that better habit into my whole surfing, then I can move on to something else. But I've gone through the last 13 years doing this, really using mantras to help me progress faster, and it's taking me to a level that I never could have imagined. And then real quickly, just one more photo, I was also doing this with cutbacks, everything, just really trying to prevent that lead arm from crossing in front of my body and really use good body mechanics, good technique to execute turns, opening that palm and shoulder throughout the turn, opening my body naturally and then helping me keep that nice flow through the whole turn. And it worked wonders, and it worked quickly. Like I said, the first 3 photos are all from one session. You can see me going from using old bad habits that come naturally to then being very conscious and using good ones and having a way better result. So I hope this helps you see how helpful mantras can be for your surfing. And now we'll get into the 3 ways mantras can really help progress your surfing faster. And the first way is mantras can override natural instincts. And this is a big one because all of us, no matter what level we're at, beginner, intermediate, advanced, or superhuman when it comes to surfing, we're all going to come into a moment in time where we're faced by a challenge, whether it's a turn or maneuver, whether it's a wave, the size of the waves. I mean, if you're beginning and you're out in 3-foot surf and then you paddle out in a 6-foot surf, that's a huge jump, and there's a lot of an intimidation factor there. So what mantras can help is override that natural instinct of fear. Now, fear is good. Fear is something that helps us stay on point, keeps that adrenaline pumping so we can react in a faster way. But a lot of times it can make us do things at the wrong moment in time. For example, pop up too early. As we all start surfing, as we're beginners and we're paddling for a wave, all of us have made the mistake of popping up way too early because we felt that rush of energy come from behind, and all of our natural instincts said, time to stand up, when the reality is we should have paddled a few more times. And so you can incorporate something like that into your mantra, where as you're paddling for that wave as a beginner, you can be saying to yourself, paddle 2-3 more times, paddle 2-3 more times. So when you get that rush of energy, you're focused on paddling 2 or 3 more times before you pop up. And these 2 photos are really here to illustrate how mantras can help overcome fear. And I'm not advocating everybody goes out and tries to put themselves into situations they're not comfortable in. That's not what this is about. But this is, I think, a good illustration of what happens and what has happened to all of us when fear is involved, because fear creates hesitation. And when you hesitate, you can go over the falls. And we've all done that before. We're out in waves. Say we're very comfortable in 3-foot waves. And we paddle out in 6-foot waves that we're not super comfortable in. And we start paddling and we're a little scared. So we hesitate right as we're feeling that rush of energy come over us. And we're about to maybe stand up, but we kind of don't know if we're going to do it. And then sure enough, it's too late. And we go over the falls. And That happens to everybody. Now, if you had a mantra per se that you're utilizing as you're paddling, and you know that you're going into situations that you're a little fearful of, you can start utilizing mantras where you're sitting there and you're saying, paddle hard, pop up quick. Paddle hard, pop up quick. So you have a situation right now like this image to the right where you have an individual who's paddled into a very heavy wave, as we can all tell, but he has full commitment. And he probably didn't use mantras, but if he had, you have a mantra going, paddle hard, pop up quick, paddle hard, pop up quick, paddle hard, pop up quick. As you're paddling, that fear instinct's not really there. It's maybe lingering subconsciously, but it's not as powerful as it once was. So you got your mantras going, and then boom, your full commitment. You're in the wave. That fear hasn't come over you to have that hesitation happen, or now you're stuck at that lip and you're like, oh no, what have I done? And then, we don't know the outcome, but the outcome is going to be what it is. You've made full commitment. You've done your part at this point. You have done everything you can to catch this wave with full focus, full commitment, and now the outcome is going to be what it is. You're going to get to your feet and you're going to make it, or you're not. But you're probably going to be in a bit safer situation with that full commitment rather than being stuck up at the lip at a wave like that. And again, this isn't about going out and testing your fear in giant waves when you've never surfed giant waves. This is just about how mantras can help you push through certain aspects of your surfing to get you to where you want to go. And now the second thing they can do is they can tell your body proper action. And this kind of goes back to me struggling for 18 years with my top turn. And it can tell your body what to do in the right moment when you put the right word combinations together and you repeat it to yourself over and over and over again when you're in the moment doing that thing that you want to do. So it's again, me popping up, getting to my feet and going down the line, surfing the wave more or less as I would, except for being very conscious and repeating to myself over and over again, don't let lead arm cross in front of body. Don't let lead arm cross in front of body. Don't let lead arm cross in front of body. And then when I would go to do my top turn, at this point I was more comfortable with not letting my lead arm cross in front of my body. I would add one more, open palm and shoulder, which then would allow me to execute turns in a way that I was way more proud of with a way higher success rate. I mean, my turns went from, like I said, not completing top turns at like 90% of the time to then, 50% of the time within the first week. And then it dropped down to like 30%, and then it dropped down to 20%, and now I complete my top turns 90% of the time. And I'm doing top turns I'm super proud of. I'm blowing my fins. I'm doing layback snaps that I'm pulling. I'm doing things that I had been flailing and trying to accomplish for years and never really grasping that if I had slowed down a little bit and really analyzed my surfing and then incorporated these mantras into my surfing to help break those bad habits, I would have gone a lot farther, a lot faster. But hey, hindsight's 20/20. I'm very happy at the level I've reached, and I'm still progressing. Like I said, I use these mantras every single day within my own surfing. I've been working on air reverses now for the past few years, and I pulled a few, and I'm getting really happy with the way it's starting to look on film and just the whole flow and momentum of them, and everything's really starting to come together. But it's one, because I've identified the right body mechanics in order to start the process of an air reverse. And then two, I utilize mantras to keep me in the moment and keep those body mechanics consistent when I do then go execute these types of maneuvers. And then the third thing mantras can do is they can create a double dose of repetition. And this kind of goes back to what I was just saying, which is, once I got better at keeping that arm from crossing in front of my body throughout a turn, then I would start incorporating a little bit more to it, which is, open palm and shoulder. And now my turns start getting a lot crisper, a lot cleaner, a lot more flowy. And I really start becoming more proud of my turns, because now it's like I'm actually feeling and looking like the surfers that I kind of admired, the turns that they were doing. It's like I'd see myself in the past doing a turn that in my mind, I'm like, oh, that was sick. And then I would see the photo of it and compare it to the surfers whose turn I was also observing out in the water and be like, man, my turn doesn't look anything like theirs. And it wasn't until, again, identifying that problem and then utilizing mantras to really keep me focused and in the moment to then do turns that I was super proud of. So going back to what I said when we first started, it's like that basketball analogy. When you're doing the mantras, you're training your body and mind to execute the right physical activity. And then you pop up and you're going down the wave and you're doing the correct mental and physical activity in order to execute the type of turn that you want. So you're really getting that double dose of repetition, which is just ingraining it into that muscle memory for you. So then you can go out the next session and do it again. And the session after that, do it again and again and again and again, to again, like you then are increasing your success rate by leaps and bounds in a way faster rate because you're getting that double dose of repetition. And so now I'd like to give you a few examples of mantras that I use or have used in the past. And some of them I use while I'm paddling. Some of them I use while I'm doing frontside turns, backside bottom turns, whatever it may be. But while I'm paddling, I've used in the past, paddle hard, pop up quick, move my feet. This is something that, as we talked about in past videos, that getting that back foot far enough back on the surfboard is the most important part of doing any type of turn. And for me, it really separates that intermediate surfer from an advanced surfer where they can maneuver that foot back and forth at will because they gain maximum control over that surfboard. And I struggled with this. So I utilized this mantra. So when I paddled hard, popped up quick, I was very conscious of moving my feet where they needed to go on the board. And I use feet. You can use back foot, paddle hard, pop up quick, move my back foot. That's up to you. But I just said paddle hard, pop up quick, move my feet. And that gave me the cue to get up, get that back foot as far back on the surfboard as I could to then do the types of turns and maneuvers that I wanted. Another one I used while I was paddling was pop up quick, move my feet, relax. And this was something I was really struggling with because I was a one-pace surfer. I would pop up and just go as fast as I could and try to do one turn. And I did this for years. I didn't have that calmness in my brain to really sit back, observe what the wave was offering, and realize I could do like 5 turns before I finally got to that final turn at like Mach 12 that then I would either blow an air out of the water sky high and completely lose it, or try to do a turn going way too fast, blow my fins, and be out of control. So this was a mantra I really utilized to help quiet my mind down and really help me start to slow my whole surfing down, because I think it's really important to be a 2-pace surfer. You don't just want to be one pace. You want to be able to identify what the wave is offering and then surf the wave in the way that you want, maximizing the types of turns and maneuvers that you want. And then throughout frontside turns, it was spot the section, open palm, start turn early. Spot the section, open palm, start turn early. And this was something where I was really, as I was starting to really hone in on my front side turns and realizing that I wasn't doing them in the most critical sections on the wave, that I really started to then, identify that section. And then instead of going straight to the top and, like I just described, blowing my fins out and losing control, I would start my turn early in order to really start to discover what part of the wave face was best utilized for that type of turn. The steeper part, the more shouldery part. And this really helped me then identify the different portions of the wave face that I could then do really critical, cool turns on. And then as far as backside bottom turns went, my backside turns struggled for years. And so I utilized the mantra, move back foot, drop lead arm, sit deep into bottom turn. This was something that changed everything for me. Dropping that lead arm more down by my hip, really got me to sit deeper into my turns. And then, of course, getting that back foot farther back on the surfboard, gaining maximum control, really helped as well. And so, as you can see, these mantras I've used over the years, and they have taken me, one step at a time to a level of surfing that I'm incredibly proud of and never ever thought I would get to. Now I think you can see how truly powerful mantras are, how they help me take my surfing to another level, and how they can also help you take your surfing to that level that you aspire to get to. So with that said, I just want to thank you so much for joining me, your host, Chapin Cruder, from Surf Progression Techniques. It's been a pleasure working with you. And I really think that you can progress your surfing a lot faster with mantras. So consider your own little word formulation, your own little combination of words that you can utilize. Just use them in your head. You know, you don't have to say them out loud. If you want to, feel free. But just say it in your head over and over again as you're paddling, as you're riding down the line, in order to help you stay in that moment, help you stay present in order to do the actions necessary for you to execute the type of top turns that you want or the type of maneuvers that you want. And if you found this video helpful, please share it with somebody who you think might need it. You know, there's a lot of people who are frustrated and stuck out there. And to have to go through those years of trial and error like I did without having somebody just lend me a helping hand every now and again in a very clear, concise way, they're going to be really appreciative of that. So thank you for joining me, and stay tuned because there's a lot more to come, and I'll see you in the next video.